Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Alex Bailey from Bailey & French, and we are here today with two very different but very fabulous companies. I'm privileged to say I know very well from working with them, and we're going to be talking today about performance motivation. So, Professor Sir Cary Cooper and Peter Cheese both spoke this morning about creating workplaces that were far more human. And we're going to be talking very much today about exactly that, but the practical application of how to do that. There's going to be some time for questions at the end of this session, but in order to make sure we capture and keep an interaction going with everybody today, we've put some question cards on your seats. And so if you can jot down any questions and comments that you might have throughout the session, my colleagues Joshua and Amy and Andrea will be passing around towards the end and trying to collect those together and theme them up so that hopefully we can address the main points that come up today. And if not, if we don't get round to them, then at least we can come back to everybody over the next few days too. So, it is going to be a bit of an interactive session today. I hope you're up for that. We are going to start with an interactive activity that all of us on stage are used to. We use it in our meetings and on our daily practice at work, talking about positive things. So it's a positive booster activity. Gives us a little shot of serotonin like the sunshine, makes us feel good, and happens to increase our cognitive ability. A very simple activity, talking about 3 good things that have happened to you in the past 24 hours or something you're looking forward to. So I'm going to start off today to give you an example. Mine are, last night I had a fabulous meal and I had peanut butter mousse for pudding. Now I have never had peanut butter mousse, but it was the most amazing pudding I've ever had, so that was fantastic. I had a great breakfast this morning with my colleagues, catching up with them about their events yesterday. And my 3rd good thing, I'm really looking forward to seeing my little girls tomorrow. I've missed them. So they're my 3 good things. If you could now turn to the person next to you, got 2 minutes, please, I invite you to share your 3 good things that have happened in the last 24 hours or something that's about to come up for you. Okay, thank you everybody. So, I like the raising of energy in the room already. It's great, especially after lunch. So, today I am not going to introduce our speakers by traditionally talking about their qualifications or their years of experience or how many great companies they've worked for. I am joined on the stage by some inspirational pioneers of a new era for HR, the people era. Our first speaker today is Carl Fillery. Carl is a people-centric CEO. He not only inspires people with a vision of the future, but he creates pace and energy to remove complexity, create clarity, and remove traditional boundaries in order to evolve culture. Carl is going to talk about his organisation, how he feels now versus 18 months ago in his role from a CEO's perspective. Thank you, Carl.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Alex. So, as Alex said, I'm going to try and share my experiences, talk about how I approach the vision for our organisation, the results that have occurred as a result of that, and how I see now the team are motivated to be delivering on this. And if I think about the start, I had mixed emotions 18 months ago when I took over the role that I now have. I was obviously thrilled and excited, but I was concerned, I guess, and at odds with some of the areas about what was expected of the role, what the role had become, and probably what people thought the role should be. And I really didn't like how our people were feeling, the direction, the lack of energy. I guess there were lots of words, lots of plans, but they weren't really achieving anything. And I wanted our company to be truly successful, with meaning and emotion. But most of all, I wanted to enjoy coming to work and enjoy being at work, and I wanted our people to feel that as well. If I roll that forward now and think about where we are now and where I am today with this, I feel invigorated. To be honest, I enjoy coming to work. Our people aren't just communicating, they're collaborating. It feels very comfortable for me to go and talk to our people about anything at any time, and for them to come and speak to me as well. And this motivates me, and I hope it motivates them too. And I guess in short, I feel liberated to push the boundaries of what we're trying to achieve. Think about more about what's next, what we can do, what we'd like to do, what we want to do. And I guess our vision now isn't really one about changing business performance. It's one about defining, creating, changing the sector that we are in with meaning and with purpose. Everyone always talks about empowerment. We did. I've never known a plan that doesn't sort of have some sort of language that I normally can't understand, that's trying to say that we're going to invest in people, we're going to empower our people, we're going to change the culture. And we really believe, and we really thought that that's what we were doing. But that wasn't the reality. We actually feel we're doing this now. And how did that happen? What did we do in order for that to take place? Well, you have to create a platform. We created a platform for this to occur. But in short, we took a big step back and we said, here you go, over to you. But we really did commit to our people. We really did empower them to do this. This doesn't scare me, but it's not to say it's not uncomfortable, and it hasn't challenged us and still continues to do so. It's a big thing to do, but it feels so right. And the slide, I guess, is probably how I was feeling 18 months ago, and it's certainly how the team were feeling. So how do we go about this? What do we do? Well, I started to think about what type of company I wanted to create, what type of environment I wanted to create. But more importantly, it was more about what our people felt. I thought about the roles, companies, people I'd met that I either admired or aspired to or felt good when I was in their company, and sort of looked at the effect that had on me and how I had performed as a result of that. And I guess in short, it feels to me that if you are happy and motivated, and our people are happy and motivated, only good things will happen and only success will happen. So our people are our priority. I believe we have to create an environment that's comfortable. You have to use language that everybody understands in a respectful way, giving confidence. The respect has to be felt. And we need to do this always, and we do. We must be ourselves. Our people will make it up if not. And we must always lead by example. We will need to ensure our people feel our trust and our trust in them, and we must support and take our responsibility together. Of course, we have to lead, inspire, but if we are not genuine, our people will see through this. And we try and never use the language or the word I. It's always we. What's important, I think, in the role that I perform and how I see it is I take responsibility for our people's well-being. It feels right, human, natural, I guess, to work on and with our people in a way that's working with their strengths and what they're good at, rather than trying to fix what's wrong. I felt able to empower our leadership team. I trusted them. I believed that they would take the responsibility. I like positivity and to focus on simple language and clarity, letting go of complexity, which I guess all felt like common sense, but we weren't really doing this. So we focus on exploring the positive. It feels okay to be and good to trust our instinct. Our instinct will tell us if we have issues with our teams or team member. We don't need a process to tell us that. We had loads of stats. I bet you all have stats that tell you loads of stuff. But are they meaningful? Are they reflecting your company's performance? But for me, it was what did I really feel? What was I feeling what I was being told? Am I seeing this the same way? Are we giving enough time to this? And this very much is a focus. So we started changing. We cut out the complexity. We focused on the important things. We only have 4 company objectives under what I believe an inspiring vision. Elsa Nell, who you're going to hear from shortly, looks after this for our organisation, sits at the top table, but importantly is listened to. There's no one in between us. But we have the right conversations, focused on the right things. I worked with my direct team to truly understand ourselves and the effects we have on each other. We had to change, we had to adapt. We had to adapt our structure. It's not utopia, we don't agree on everything, but we talk about it and we work together and complement each other. But we're honest, we're open, we respect each other all the time, and we trust each other's opinion. We also invested in great people to help us with this platform. It's important that you do get the platform right, and everybody is fully committed to this, and has to be. We have to be, especially when you start to cascade it through your teams. So the first steps we took a great big leap of faith. We ripped up the manual, the processes, binned a significant project that was focused on people management, that was explained to me more times than I cared to mention. I still didn't get it. But if I didn't get it, I was thinking, our people aren't going to get it. And invested lots of time in listening and making our people basically feel comfortable to talk. So if I think about the last 18 months, the pace has been incredible. We're a reasonably sized company, SME, of 300 people out of 9 sites nationally. The company was lacking in confidence and direction and been failing for the last 11 years, not through lack of investment, but it wasn't achieving or performing. And we've turned this around and turned around significant losses whilst ensuring that we still have a considerable amount of our turnover to invest in the future. Now, we had to make some tough decisions. We had to restructure. There were pay freezes, bonus freezes. We still have a business to run through all of this. But within this 18 months, we're 2 years ahead of our plan. A plan that our board felt was too ambitious within that timeline. But the important thing for me, it's been achieved with over 75% of the original team. The team that I was told weren't good enough. The team that has been through the experiences that I've just shared. The same team that when we ran a survey right at the start said they wouldn't recommend this company. Morale is now through the roof. They're engaged, they're confident, they're contributing, they're excited about the future and generating ambition for the future. They don't fear that. And we have a choice of succession and talent now to choose from. You're going to hear in a moment about an initiative we call Blanco, which is just evidence for me, really, of the collaboration and empowerment. And I don't see that this would have been achieved as a result of this cultural change, and certainly it wouldn't have happened 18 months ago. But success has to be achieved and shared through all of our people. I don't want or crave individual recognition for this. It doesn't feel good enough. It's not satisfying enough. So success has to be a shared feeling. And I want our team to feel that we achieved that. So right now, how do I feel? I feel great. I really do. I feel liberated doing my role. I feel that I'm doing more things that I hope to do. I really and truly believe I'm performing the role that I should be. It's given me more time. It's enabled me to win support externally as well with our shareholders and at our AGM. We have a pipeline of opportunity, a pipeline of new suppliers and initiatives, and the vision feels real. It doesn't feel like words. I'm motivated to come into work. I seem to have more time, which is great. So it's shared, but it's not just me that feels this as well. I love the ideas. The confidence continues to grow. The pace, we're nimble, we're flexible. It's great trying to keep up with this pace now. But I love seeing the respect that's just being shown to each other. It feels like true values when I look at this. But I just see people smiling, having fun, enjoying coming into work. And I just see more things happening. I'm seeing this firsthand. So I think now this slide reflects what's happening in our organisation. And I'd like to hand over to Elsa now to talk a little more about that.
Thank you, Carl. That was a really great reflection from a CEO's perspective of such a large change in a short space of time. So now we're going to hear from Elsa Sutty. She is a cultural evolver who is a strategic influencer. She maximises all her opportunities to achieve success in her own maverick way. So she's going to tell us a bit more about the how of the organisational change that happened. Thank you, Elsa.
Good afternoon. It's lovely to be here in Manchester and to see everybody here to hear what we've got to say. Thank you, Alex, for the introduction, and thank you, Carl, for giving a great picture of the framework on which we hang our organisation. So why am I here? I'm here to give you a flavour of how we've generated such a fast-paced change in only 11 months. It's currently 11 months since we began work with the Strengths programme in our business. So it's not a long time, but we've seen a lot of change happen, and that's substantial change. So how have we done this? We use focused interventions on key areas, and they give the biggest impacts with the minimum effort. Critical area of performance motivation has been open dialogue, and at the heart of this has been equipping our people managers with toolkits, positive questions. It's similar to appreciative inquiry, for those of you who know what that is. And we use these in all of our conversations, so in one-to-ones, in huddles, which we have every day, in career conversations, and so on. So let's have a go at that now. We're going to go back to the interaction phase. If you turn to your neighbour and ask the question, what was your best day in the last 7 days? And you've got 2 minutes to do that. Thank you. I think there's some very good last 7 days going on in the room here. Wish we could hear about them. How did that feel? But it felt quite good to think about a time where you were happy and everything was great on a day. And probably has raised the energy slightly for you there and made you think about how you feel when you're feeling positive. So a bit of mindfulness potentially. So for us, focused thinking is supporting us to achieve better outcomes. And an outcome focus is critical for all of us in our organisation, keeping our minds on simple clarity. All of our people have one-sentence outcomes for their roles that define clearly their purpose. And an example of that for you may be that a restaurant manager, his outcome could be creating a dining experience to delight customers. So what's yours? What's really expected of you in your role? And again, I'm going to ask you to turn to your neighbour and to try it for yourself. Remember, it's a clear, simple, one-sentence outcome, and you have 2 minutes to try that. How did you find that? Were you able to find a way to a one-sentence outcome? I see some nodding here. This is good. Some shaking of the heads as well. It's really not always that simple, and it takes a lot of thought. It took me in excess of half a day to actually manage to come up with my own, and that was what I was doing. So it was sort of, you come down to picking at the words. But once you have it, it's a real clarity of intention comes with that, and a real clarity of purpose. So by having that focus, it makes achievement of outcomes much simpler, and that in turn supports motivated performance. So this is one of the new ways that we think. We've embraced in the last year outcomes, and it's a key part of our way of working through strategic change. Carl mentioned Blanco, which is an interesting story, really, and that's all I'm going to do is tell you a story about a project that we kicked off with our senior management team. We had them working on a strategic project. They were using their strengths, they were collaborating, and actually, in the end, they ended up defining a new revenue stream for us, a new product which will go to market. We invested £150,000 in the project that they came up with. We see them as an internal innovation team. We will reward those team members with profit share when the project goes live and it starts to make some money. It's a story we're really proud of. They achieved that not with presenting us with a business plan, not by seeking to engage and get support. We let go. We haven't supported them. We've let them go free and do this themselves. We truly empowered these people, and this is what we've seen. So we're extremely proud of that, and it underlines the fact that for us, we believe everyone is talented. So it's quite powerful for us. So how did we go about getting into a position where that's the sort of work that we could do? Well, it's not traditional change management. Instead, it's a cultural evolution. We don't cascade information. We don't push anything out through our business, which is in a top-down way. We let go of traditional controls, and we empower people to be their best selves. It sounds simple, but it's really not easy in the early stages. So introducing this style of working, it challenges power control, and it can cause friction. So rather than manage our detractors using standard stakeholder grids of influence and power, we simply ignored them. We reserve all of our energy for the good work that we do. We're not distracted by people who need analysis and measures. We connect with people who believe this is the way that they want to work. We've achieved this using 3 key principles, which Rachel will talk about later. We use targeted interventions across all of our people life cycle within the organisation, from attraction and retention to performance motivation to talent management, and we even use them for positive exiting. So there's so much more that I would like to share with you today, and I can't do justice to it all. We're extremely proud of the organisation we've built and the culture in which we work. We're excited about the future and how we'll continue to evolve. I'm very happy to discuss more with any of you later after the session finishes, but we have questions on the seats, question cards, so if you can complete those if there's anything you'd like to know more about. We'll collate those and we'll answer as quickly as we can at the end. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope you've enjoyed our story.
Great, thank you so much, Elsa. So now we're going to hear from Rachel Collier, who uses her passion for development and learning with other people to confidently but subtly support cultural evolution. Rachel's going to talk about the last 2 years at iCrossing UK.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about why we went for a strengths-based approach to performance motivation. iCrossing are a global digital marketing agency. We're actually award-winning, we're forward-thinking, we're innovative in our work and with our people. In fact, I'd like to just celebrate my team today because we've actually, and the company, we've won yesterday the Working Moms Top Employer SME Award. So, thank you. But that's what we do. We have been pushing forward for a long time. About 150 people in the UK, and our average age is 31. It's a young company. Our jobs are complex, require lateral thinking and high levels of collaboration. Unleashing potential is actually our company-wide purpose for our clients and their brands, with our technology and our data, and within our people. So we were thinking, how could we really do that, continue to do that? For us, it had to be about doing something different, forward-thinking. And the 17% on the slide here is what the Gallup study of employee engagement in 2012 came up with as the number. It says only 17% of UK employees use their natural strengths on a daily basis. And related to that result, and the number isn't on there unfortunately, but there was a follow-up global wellbeing index by Gallup in 2013, which said that only 25% of the UK workforce is thriving in terms of purpose. And purpose in this context is that you like what you do every day, and you learn or do something interesting every day. And Carrie Cooper, this morning, in his opening keynote, showed us very clearly that there's a positive correlation between well-being and performance. What we were seeing and hearing in iCrossing was that our people's passion, ambition and creativity, in other words, their potential and their purpose, was too often diluted and even occasionally extinguished. We had high levels of engagement from the surveys, particularly around respect and having a caring and flexible culture. We're a young culture. But you can't ignore people telling you and saying that they had more to give. So to connect people's roles to the purpose of iCrossing, we needed a dopamine shot. Our values are hunger, curiosity, integrity, creativity, and grit as a company. And for us, in terms of unleashing potential, we saw strengths and the strengths approach as a powerful, untapped resource within the business. 1974, we go back quite a long way, Tim Galway's book, The Inner Game of Tennis, went pre-internet viral. I don't know whether any of you have read it, probably so, and he's followed up with many more. But quite simply, he discovered that his amateur players outperformed the professionals once he stopped coaching with instructions. Instructions were translated into a sort of command and control self-dialogue. It's the inner game. The fear, self-doubt, and limiting assumptions. And these significantly interfere with both learning and performance. It's quite a simple formula, really. High performance is achieved through growing potential and/or decreasing interference, ideally both, and they're related. In my experience, some of the systems and practices we in HR have embedded in our organisations actually increase interference levels. So we're sort of shooting ourselves in the foot. So for example, performance appraisals and ratings, lots of debate about it, but their approach is based on a deficit model for performance. And actually performance is achieved through appreciative inquiry, through letting go, through lighting fires, through the power of questions, the power of purpose, which I've already mentioned, and pulling organisational energy into a more productive energy zone. And it has to be built on trust. So our journey with a strengths-based approach to performance motivation began in the middle of last year. So again, it's not a huge amount of time, but the real journey began in the middle of last year, holding 2 away days with our senior leadership, our strengths discovery about each other, about our roles, and what we could contribute led to fast-paced change. In the space of a month, creating a new focus and drive to actively restructure the business. The blockages started to be removed. And this approach to transitioning our business to the next forward-thinking step and the next level of performance has been an immensely positive experience through what could have been, with restructuring, quite a turbulent time. So at this point, I will hand over to Sam, who Alex will introduce. He'll tell you a bit more.
Great, thank you, Rachel. So now we're going to hear a bit more from Sam Fining, who is part of the senior leadership team at iCrossing and one of the main champions of this evolution right from the beginning. Sam is an adaptable and strategic leader who creates strong bonds with his team by creating a clear picture of the context of any given situation or scenario. So over to you, Sam.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Alex. I'm just going to kick off with a bit of a story, which is a story, kind of a parable, really. I bet a bunch of you will have heard it, but it's a really great kind of description of the place we found ourselves in kind of July last year as a leadership team in iCrossing. So it comes from India. The story goes that a king took an elephant and he put it in a pitch black room, and he sent a group of his advisors into the room, and he asked them to come back and report to him what they'd found there. So, advisors trot off into the room, have a little kind of, I don't know, touch feel of this elephant, and they come back to the king and they say, "Oh, king, we found, I found that there was this kind of long, thin creature and it was wiggling all over the place." And the other one was like, "Oh, no, I'm sure I found a kind of tree trunk type thing. It was wide and round and kind of gnarled." And they all had different kind of perceptions of what they found. In a way, each of them was individually correct, describing their own experience, but together they were totally wrong. Kind of what this means for us in our leadership team was that we were all kind of trying to plough our own furrow, and we weren't really considering each other's either perspectives or the value that each of us could bring to the team. So in a way, we were kind of behaving like a set of individual ingredients rather than a delicious cake. So that was something which we really tried hard to get over immediately. And a better understanding of each other's strengths really kind of unlocked that for us. As Rachel alluded to, we went out, and within a day after kind of conversation as a leadership team, we were able to come to a fairly radical plan in terms of reorganising ourselves. So we're a digital marketing company, we're professional services, and we made the decision to better reorganise ourselves, focusing more on servicing the needs of our clients. So it was all about focusing on our client outcome. Outcomes, I think, is going to be a very popular word today. I think we've heard it in every speech so far. So we reorganised our business into kind of smaller groups of teams directly focused on a lower number of clients. And crucially, we empowered those teams to focus on client outcomes and achieve those in the ways which best match with their particular strengths. For me, working with my team, on the one hand, it was kind of scary because it meant we had to release any element of didactism, any element of command and control. But we saw amazing results from just empowering the people that worked in our teams to go about and achieve these outcomes in the way that worked best for them. And we saw an amazing kind of increased sense of ownership, I suppose. So a lot more accountability, a lot more ownership at every level throughout our business. So it's absolutely fantastic from that point of view. Just finally then, one of the most kind of important and, from a personal point of view, one of the most momentous things that happened was a better understanding of my own personal strengths. And a lot of them, I could kind of pick them out myself from the Gallup Strengths Finder or whatever, but a few of them were quite a lot more difficult to identify and were kind of teased out over time in conversation. And I think that was probably because I wasn't using them in my day-to-day work. And so, once I've recognised, what my strengths were, I could much more consciously and mindfully engage those strengths in order to achieve the outcomes that I needed to do. And that made me personally a lot more effective and drove much higher performance for myself and the team, and allowed me to wield a greater impact and influence in our organisation, hopefully as a force for good.
Thank you very much, Sam. It's really great to hear about the level of ownership and influence you had through this opportunity. Just a quick reminder for everybody, we really want to keep the conversation going and hear what you've got to say. So please do write your questions and comments on the cards, because Joshua and Amy and Andrea are going to come around and collect them very shortly so we can get them into themes. But now we're going to just hand back briefly to Rachel to hear more about the how. So we've heard a bit more about the why and the experience. Let's hear more about the how. You and your team instigated this change.
Based on how Sam just finished then, it's may the force through strengths be with you. So small hinges, big doors. We have 3 hinges on the door, and the approach that we took The first hinge, and you've heard it already, is letting go. We let go of our competency, I can't even say it, competency-based framework. We changed the language around performance management. We dropped the weakness focus. One of our managers, not HR, one of our managers created a simple one sheet, what they called a cheat sheet. Just goes to show that the sort of perceptions that people had. But basically a personal development planner, which was shared by the teams. It wasn't just individual. So it was designed around frequent conversations, the projects that were happening, the clients they were working on, recording strengths, developed skills and knowledge, and used for individual career development and for the teams themselves to be more creative and agile in their roles. You know, actually really opened things up rather than locking things down. We replaced old job descriptions with new role profiles. And referring back to the outcomes, those one sentences you were trying to do. So that's what our role profiles lead on. There's a one sentence outcome for the individual, one for the team, and one for the organisation around the role. And so it's all using strengths-based language and focusing the lens on strengths and motivation and how people may perform rather than if they can, based on proof. And we're using that in our recruitment, and that's what we've led on. And I think Carrie Cooper again this morning talked about those primary areas to address in organisations in dealing with the outside and organisational and the external, the outside for people. And it really links to that idea of selecting the right people for the right roles. And that's how we're using it. The second hinge is coaching. Coaching skills and creating a coaching culture is fundamental to how we've taken this forward. Great managers are great coaches. So, as Elsa mentioned, we have a simple coaching toolkit which was developed with our teams, questions for different conversations that happen throughout the business with individuals in one-to-ones and huddles and team conversations. But most importantly, we have a group of master coaches, our go-to people in the organisation for everyone, sort of pioneers and champions to develop and embed strengths-based coaching skills and appreciative inquiry throughout the business. And we run strengths-based coaching skills workshops too. It's a regular thing for us now. And the third hinge is, and I was trying to think of the word, it's actually openness. So it came up before. So Sam has already said it's not didactic. It's about creating groundswell or allowing people to want it, to own it, to be engaged with the whole process. Being open to and responsive to what people suggest. So the manager coming up with a solution is fine. It doesn't have to be invented by HR. In fact, it's more important that people come up with things that are relevant to what they're doing and to how the business needs to operate. And open to flexibility and career movement within and beyond iCrossing. So what it has done is enable us to manage performance through positive moves to more suitable roles for individuals without the negative connotations around that. And also positive conversations and support for people to leave iCrossing respectfully, gracefully and quickly. So from the three hinges, we'll move on to the three principles that Elsa mentioned earlier, and I'll refer back to the principles slide. I think Peter Cheese put up this morning, which I thought, oh yeah, principles, yeah, that's what it's about. And this informs everything we do, these three. And the first one up there, strengths are unique, enduring, and everyone has them, not just top talent. Great managers know and value the unique abilities and even the eccentricities of their employees. I certainly do in my team. And they learn how best to integrate them into great performance. And Marcus Buckingham said something that's quite interesting. By getting the most out of what is unique about each person, you introduce a healthy degree of disruption into your world. I've certainly seen that over the past 12 months. You shuffle existing hierarchies, and that actually has been a very good thing. Second principle is the greatest opportunity for development is in our areas of strength, not weakness. And the usual example, very young David Beckham here. I don't know how many years ago that was. But clearly, his strengths determined his shirt number and the position he played. And the usual example here is in sport. And Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have dreamt of making him playing goal. And it's just the same in our organisations, but we are constantly trying to put people into, yeah, just keep going at it. And Einstein said himself, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. So third principle is we don't ignore weaknesses, we make them irrelevant. So Peter Drucker said the task of leadership is to create an alignment of strengths, making our weaknesses irrelevant. He said that a long time ago. No one is good at everything. So the things we're not so good at, ask yourself the question. So think about one of your weaknesses. Is your performance, or that of others, being significantly affected by this weakness? If the answer is no, then don't include it as a development goal and put your effort into enhancing your strengths. But realistically, most of the time, for most of us in organisations, the answer will be yes for a weakness. Then you can't ignore it. You have to manage it. You can't make it disappear, but you can minimise its impact. And there are a few options, and I think the first most important thing is to go into learning mode about your weakness. Be honest about where you could do better, because that's integrity, and remember, that's one of our values. People find out soon enough what you don't do so well. Be open about it. Find a mentor who's with those strengths. Shadow someone who shines at it. Get input from colleagues. You can redesign the work. That was something that came up in one of the talks this morning, actually. Really, Carrie Cooper again, saying it's a really important part of what HR should be looking at and addressing. Find a different way to achieve the same result using other activities where you do have strengths. Again, just a different approach to achieving your outcome. And value people who have strengths that correspond to your weaknesses. So I'm quite a big picture person, and strategic, and I can see possibilities and the path. And I really value people, I really do value people who have strong execution strengths, and always seek them out as partners. That makes us both stronger. It puts my strength for big picture stuff together with their detail strength and makes our weaknesses irrelevant to the tasks we do together. And isn't that the point of an organisation and a team? It's certainly the point that we've made in our organisation, because our purpose is to unleash potential and actually to make work fun.